What a mess, Priscilla. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no.
Oh! Before something blows up.
Contamination concerns are bubbling in eastern Ohio as residents are told it is safe to return to East Palestine. State officials confirmed that toxic chemicals entered the Ohio River after about 50 cars derailed in a fiery crash.
Good afternoon. I'm Captain Keith Gephardt with the Arizona Department of Public Safety with the Public Information Office. We wanted to give you an outlet for the questions that you might have regarding the recent fatal collision and hazmat incident that occurred on I-10 at milepost 272 on the 14th of February.
Clean Harbor in Boston caught fire. I shared yesterday, I was accidentally there when it happened, drove through Braintree, Boston, but more info is coming out. Residents are pissed because they were not notified about the chemical fire.
So here is the fire from the metal factory in Bedford, Ohio that just exploded.
Two of the latest train issues that we've had here in the United States have been this coal train derailment in Nebraska and a derailment in Oregon that resulted in a lot of spilled diesel. Stu Peters tweeted on February 22nd, major response is underway after a compound of uranium is on fire at the Y-12 National Security Complex in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Welcome back to the show. This is Anna and you're watching Anna Speaks Out. Thanks for being here. Hey everyone, so in my recent 3 shorts here on YouTube, which you may or may not have seen, I've gone over a few of the latest happenings involving all of the toxic chemical waste that has been basically sort of infiltrating the United States, you might say, recently. And there is just so much information to take in. There have been so many things happening so quickly, it's very overwhelming. So I wanted to kind of just give a couple main conclusions, you might say, here that I've found through the research of some amazing people on Instagram. Instagram can be a wealth of trash, but it can also be a great wealth of good information if you look in the right places. You can follow me on Instagram at My Thoughts and Songs, by the way, and I follow some good people, so yeah. But anyway, I'm here to show you today who seems to be behind all of this according to the public data that is available, because a lot of people have been asking that question. And some people, you know, it can be easy to doubt, obviously, what you see on the news. I often doubt it. So, you know, some people may wonder, is any of this really even happening? Because we can't even trust the news. But I am going to show you what is happening by the accounts of some real individual people who posted their own experiences. So those are a couple major questions we're going to answer here today. I also have some documentation for you that I believe has probably resulted in some people forming the opinion that this all could be potentially being done intentionally. I believe some people may have formed that opinion after seeing some things like what I'm going to show you. This has all been a lot of work mentally, emotionally, time-wise. So if you would like to support what I do here, a great way to do that is through Patreon. There is a ton of exclusive footage there that you can unlock from previous months gone by, starting at just $5 a month. And I'm also going to be offering free stickers and free mugs from my merch store, my personal merchandise that I've created, depending on which tier you sign up for. So I will put that link in the description. Thank you so much in advance to anyone who decides to support. You can also support me at no cost to you by just watching my monetized videos on Rumble. My username is My Thoughts and Songs. So the thing that initially made me aware of this whole rabbit hole of toxic waste emergencies that have been occurring is this clip that I'm about to show you of a woman in Ohio whose chickens died shortly after the incident there in Palestine occurred. I think my friend sent it to me because I had been making videos pretty recently about the egg shortages, and it seems to tie into that. So here's that clip.
I'm beyond upset and quite panicked because they may be just chickens, but they're family.
Brashear says her chickens were alive and well yesterday. She believes the smell following the detonation of the train carrying chemicals that derailed in East Palestine is to blame for her birds' sudden death.
My video camera footage shows my chickens were perfectly fine before they started this burn. And as soon as they started the burn, my chickens slowed down and they died. If it can do this to chickens in one night, imagine what it's going to do to us in 20 years.
Around these compounds.
Norfolk Southern Railway says with the EPA, it has completed more than 115 in-home air tests and that none have detected any of the substances related to the incident. But families say they are worried.
My grandbabies, that's why I bought this property, so they could play in the creek and have a good time, but I ain't putting them in it this year. I don't know if I'll ever put them back in it.
In East Palestine, gas detectors line the town.
Oh, God.
Ashley McCollum telling ABC's Alex Prochet how she's moved her children to different schools after they complained of headaches and pains following the derailment.
I don't know if we'll ever have that sense of feeling safe.
It was also reported by the news that fish in the waterways were dying, which is another source of food, by the way. And people are being told to drink bottled water, so I just hope that they will be able to get bottled water from safe sources. What first made me aware that the toxicity had spread to Michigan as well was this post that a woman who I follow on Instagram put up about how she was being affected. So first you just see this photo, and I honestly thought it was supposed to be like a picture of the solar system. That was just my first thought. But here's what it was actually about. She said, "This is what the bottom of my pan looks like after I boiled water. The city workers came into my house and told me there was nothing wrong with my water even after looking at the pan. They said they couldn't feel the stickiness of the water after they ran it over their hands. This whole system is built on evil. It's up to me now to bless my water. I'll keep you updated. I know I'm not the only one." And this is her speaking here.
Y'all, I knew that Michigan was going to get hit hard. And I knew they were going to target us because did you know that in Michigan is literally in the whole world, I'm talking the whole world, the largest Masonic temple is located in this state, in my state. So you better believe they put some of the biggest badasses here. This morning, when I was doing dishes, I noticed a sticky film all over the dishes, and then I noticed that my daughter was sticky, like when she got out of the bath. So it's in the water, like something is in the water. God knows the deal, we're protected. Start praying over your water. Everything is going to be okay. Start praying over the land.
Okay, so that was a personal account of the effects of water pollution in Michigan. And here are some words from an expert who looked at water in Ohio.
Well, as a top health and safety guy, I've got undergraduate and graduate degrees in chemical engineering.
You're the first actual expert that we've gotten to speak to. In your opinion, why do you believe that it was an uncontrolled burn? Why are you using that terminology when so far everywhere else we've seen that it was a controlled burn?
You can go to a place called West Liverpool downriver, and that's where they burn hazardous waste. And in a hazardous waste situation, they very carefully control the temperature and the amount of oxygen so that they get complete combustion, right? It's time, temperature, and amount of the air-fuel ratio. There's no controlling of the amount of air that gets in there. That's why you saw all that soot. So it's not a controlled burn, because a controlled burn would have to be like in a furnace or in your car or some system where you control the fuel, in other words, the vinyl chloride and the amount of oxygen. So they didn't do that. So it's an uncontrolled burn. One of the worst ways to determine exposure in general is to smell it, because if you smell the odor, guess what? You're already exposed, right?
How long have you been doing this?
30 years. I'm in most of the big named lawsuits as an exposure expert. It's a privilege. I get called in to try to figure some of this stuff out. So that's my job always, is what really happened, you know?
And now here are some people's accounts of some interesting things that have been happening, seemingly related to air pollution.
Y'all, we got fake snow.
Why this is fake?
Show them again.
Watch this. So this is
styrofoam pieces.
This is styrofoam. Styrofoam.
Oh no.
Thank you, Bill Gates, for trying to fucking trick us that this is real snow. You'll see it's not melting.
What the hell?
And it's going to burn. Snow don't burn. Snow fucking melts. No water, no dripping, no nothing. If I put this shit in the microwave, it's going to start sparking because there's metal mixed in it. So you see that?
No way.
No melting.
It got harder. Try it again.
It's not melting.
It's not water.
It's just burning.
Put it closer. What the hell?
See?
So, I live like 40 miles west of this derailment, and it rained last night. It turned to snow today, or whatever this might be. Anyways, I noticed these bubbles on my truck. It's not ice. Look at that. Whatever that shit is taking the clear coat right off my truck. Ohio.
There was also butyl acrylate and ethyl hexyl acrylate on that train. Without doing the field work on the chemistry, I'm guessing those would be the first two things you'd want to look at. In theory, if they still existed in heavy enough concentrations as paint solvents, they could work conversely against your clear coat.
Of course, as mentioned in the intro, Ohio and Michigan have not been the only places by far that have been affected. Here's a list of events starting February 2nd and going through the 21st, compiled by someone called Ben F. Strong on Instagram. Apparently something happened in my state of California that I was not even aware of until just now, which was an oil pipeline leak, which apparently also affected Nevada. So those were some pretty interesting stories, right? But this is actually not the first time that I've seen examples of the fake snow that people are talking about. The first time I saw that was when my friend Stephanie, who I've hung out with in person, I know and trust her, about 2 years ago, she demonstrated this happening in Philadelphia on her YouTube channel.
This is my cousin Carol and my 10-year-old son Alex. So with all this chemical snow and all these other people talking about this in Texas, and my cousin telling me how, the snow here, it's like we made a snowman a couple days ago, and the sun's been out a couple times, and it's not melting. So I've literally been holding this. It feels like BioSilk on your hand, right? And then when you light it, and it smells like chemicals.
It smells like burnt plastic.
Yeah, turn it toward... Yeah, Alex, turn the light off overhead. Maybe it'll help me better. And notice there's no water dripping from it either.
And do it with the candle.
And I'm in Pennsylvania. Like... And what is this?
So as I said at the beginning, there have been a couple things that I've seen that I believe are probably what have caused some people to come to the conclusion that all of this could be being done intentionally. And this next clip is a prime example of that, I would say.
Listen, this video is for educational purposes only. I weld hazardous waste material containers. I weld the containers that these chemical spills, that the shit that's carrying this stuff, I weld what carries these things. These containers are not meant to break. These containers do not just pop open. If I drop this container from 1,000 feet, this container wouldn't break. These containers are made of steel, galvanized steel, whatever the materials needed to handle this to handle the waste that's inside, or to handle the chemicals inside. We got that covered. It sends through a water test to make sure there's no holes in it, and all of that at the end before we even ship these out to the consumer that's buying these products. These chemical spills are intentional. They have been intentional, because there is no way that once a train derails, you get a little boom, 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 some containers tip over and this shit is falling out. No, these are not trash cans. These are not coffee mugs and shit. These are not stuff you see normal products in. This is not shit you can go in a grocery store, pop open the lid, and now I got my stuff. It don't work that easy. You know how long it takes to get these containers open? It takes 2 people at one time to unlock these containers. 1 on each side, unless you're doing it by yourself, that take even longer. But it take 2 people to open this joint. These doors on these fucking containers and these tops on these containers are hundreds of pounds. Hundreds of pounds. These are made by engineers. They design these to withhold these things, to be able to travel with these materials without leaking out and people dying in the process. So when you telling me these train derailments and all this shit, these chemicals, it's intentional. Because even if the train tipped over, even if the train crashed, even if the train whatever, if a train derailed, those containers are not breaking. For them to be broken open, they mean they were broken open. That's it. It's intentional. Stop drinking water. Stop using water as much as you can. Just take a pause on it until you figure out all this shit that's going on with this water.
Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. And then there was this situation where 5 professionals were going to check out the site of one of these incidents in Ohio, and they all died on the way there.
Officials in Little Rock, Arkansas are investigating the cause of a deadly plane crash. A twin-engine plane slammed into the ground today near a 3M manufacturing plant, killing all 5 people on board. They all worked for the same environmental consulting firm and were heading to the site of a deadly explosion at a metals plant earlier this week in Ohio. The cause of the crash is not yet known.
Coincidence? I think not!
All right, so all of that being laid out, here is what I have found as far as the answer to the big question of the day, which is who is behind all of this? So there are 2 usernames on the bottom left here. I'm not sure which one was the original creator, but whoever it was did a lot of good research and gave us some pretty solid answers. Here we go.
Who owns Norfolk Southern? That is the train that derailed in Ohio. That would be Vanguard Group as the top owner. Also, J.P. Morgan, and then BlackRock and SSGA. Now, BlackRock, SSGA, and the Vanguard Group are all the same thing. Vanguard is BlackRock, BlackRock is Vanguard. This is just Vanguard. All of it is just different holding companies owned by the same company. Now, you see that one right here, J.P. Morgan Investment. Now, you'd think, oh, well, it's owned by somebody else. They're the second shareholder. Well, mind you, the biggest shareholders of J.P. Morgan are also Vanguard, BlackRock, and SSGA. Next, we're going to pivot over to South Carolina. Let's see, we got SSGA Funds is also known as State Street Corporation. Now, what is State Street Corporation? State Street Corporation is Vanguard. And you're wondering, oh, well, there's Dodge and Cox right there. Who are they? Well, don't mind me. Who are the largest investors in Dodge and Cox? Well, that would be Capital One, Wells Fargo, and I'm pretty sure that is also. And who owns Capital One? Dodge and Cox and Vanguard, which is just Vanguard. And Capital One Companies, also owned by Vanguard. Go back to who owns Dodge and Cox. The other large shareholder, Charles Schwab, that is also owned mostly by Vanguard. And like we already said, Capital One was on that list too. Dodge and Cox and Vanguard, which Dodge and Cox is Vanguard, so it's just Vanguard and Vanguard. Who are the top 10 owners of the train that derailed in South Carolina? That would be Vanguard, 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 Vanguard. Pretty sure Vanguard. I don't know, man. Kind of seems like Vanguard has their hands in all of this. I'm not done though. Who owns the largest water right in America? That would also be Vanguard. What was majorly affected by all of these trains? Water.
So that definitely reminds me of one of the steps of the global walkout, which I made a video about a couple times ago, which was to keep cash alive and to divest from the big banks into smaller credit unions and things like that. Seeing these big banks being behind these trains that have been being derailed and resulting in toxic waste being spread out across the United States makes me not want to be giving them money to invest. How about you? And finally, if you have any insight or knowledge on the best ways to sanitize air and water in a situation like this, please share in the comments. We definitely need to come together and help each other figure out how to get through this victoriously. Thank you so much. Thank you again so much for being here today. Since you liked the video enough to make it all the way to the end, don't forget to click the thumbs up and share with somebody else who would also find it interesting. Leave your comments below to continue in the conversation. And if you really enjoyed it, don't forget to check out the link in the description for several different ways that you can support what I do here. Have a wonderful night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time zone you are in, and I will see you next time. Bye.